Here comes the nasty gram.
Send a priest to save my soul, forget it.
Welcome back to the Nastygram RPG podcast. This is Dark Legacy, Episode 3, For All Have Sinned.
Feeling it too hard is the poison to the heart of a cynic. Now I'm waking to pain.
Legba, I heard your message and thank you for your guidance. The ones I try to lead now, they are stubborn and a little selfish, but with you and Baron Sormedi's help, we can shine Bondi's divine light on the darkness of Black Valley. It seems that there is something dark out there that follows Mr. Marlowe's family, and it may have turned those close to him away from the light. This Mr. Dawson, he was killed by something large, sharp claws, and crushed upon the rocks. I don't know how prepared the others are for what lies ahead, but only Bondi knows. When I first met Mr. Marlowe, I saw that shadow followed him, and now I see it is ready to swallow him without our help. I ask for you, Papa Legba, and Baron Somedi to speak with the ancestors and help me free him from the darkness. I don't know who we can trust in this Black Valley, but it looks like Bondi's light is needed to cast aside the darkness.
Hi, everybody. This is Jake, your storyteller and dream weaver for the evening.
Hey, folks, this is Dan playing Silas Keene, the photographer.
Hey, folks, this is John. I'm playing Noah Fashnacht, the gunsmith.
Hi, it's Ryan. I'm playing Les Kershaw, the horse aficionado.
This is Josh. I'm playing Kingsley Burke, and he is a former congressman, chicken hawk, and he's going to try to stick with one accent in this particular session.
And I'm Matt playing Benton Beauclair, the voodoo chef.
All right. I'm going to jump right in. But before I do that, I'm just going to ask you guys if you have any suggestions for awarding willpower points for anything in particular in the last couple sessions that you thought was done particularly well. After going back and listening, I really liked John and John and Dan. You guys had some good back and forth about your combined background. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit mysterious at this point as to what you're worried about Marlowe finding out. But
lesser treasons.
lesser treason. I like that it was kind of hinted at. So you guys both recover a willpower point for that.
Sweet. I need it.
I want to nominate Matt one for clearly doing some fucking pretty significant voodoo research.
Yeah, 100%.
And in particular, how he described that fork in the road, or fork in the rail, rather.
Yeah, right.
And the choice it was, and making it cryptic and yet consistent. Like when it came, like it wasn't just nonsense riddles. Like it stayed consistent when it came back up with Burke later. I think it's very groovy.
Danke.
I mean,
cool.
Kingsley thinks it's fucking absolute horseshit. Yeah, but Josh thinks it's pretty cool.
Now, I haven't lost willpower, so I gain nothing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You managed to not lose any. Wow. After that horrific display at the gorge.
War.
Yeah, weren't nothing.
All right. One other thing I want to mention, speaking of your dream, Matt, you took that as a merit and a flaw, that sort of supernatural connection thing. Mm-hmm. So I just want to remind you and anyone listening that these dreams that you have are going to definitely have important, useful information. They might also have a few pit traps thrown in there. So you've been warned. It's not all good stuff.
I would also, one more, I'd like to take one away from the GM. Who, December 19th, 1870 was a Monday.
Oh, wow.
So obviously somebody didn't do their fucking research.
Wow.
Immersion destroyed.
Yeah. Is this? I mean, there's no consistency here.
Yeah. Did anyone check the weather on that day too?
Oh, no.
We should look into that in Western
Yeah. In
Maryland. Yeah.
The farmer's
That guy wasn't
almanac.
the sheriff of
Yeah.
Black Valley.
Oh, shit. Okay, let's get into this. Matt Benton Beauclair is running down the train tracks with Marlowe. You're out of breath. You're being pursued. You look up in the sky and you see vultures circling you. You know that they're waiting for you to die so that they can pick at your bones. You run. You hear a gunshot. You look towards Marlowe and you see him firing his pistol behind you. You look back and you see these people chasing you down the tracks, but they don't look normal. They look like something is wrong with them. They're frothing at the mouths. They're feral almost. And they come at you in waves, and Marlowe keeps shooting. You trip on the tracks. He pulls you to your feet. The two of you continue to stumble and run. People are coming out of the forest, and he's shooting at them as the two of you escape. You fall again. You hit the ground. You hear a gunshot. You look and you see one of these people on the track next to you, bullet hole in their head. And then a vulture lands and starts picking at them. And you realize that the vultures were not here for you and Marlowe. They were here for the death that would be left in your trail. You hear another gunshot and you wake up. And you hear another gunshot outside. It is the afternoon of December 19th, 1870. You're in probably the nicest bedchamber that you've ever slept in. The shades have been drawn so that the sun doesn't disturb you. And another gunshot rings out from outside.
I'm going to jump out of bed and run to a window and just kind of peel the curtain back and peek outside. Try not to draw attention to whatever's going on out there, but to get a view.
Okay. John.
Yes.
Give me a composure plus firearms roll.
Okay. Was this with a rifle?
It is.
Dan, make a soak roll. Fuck.
It had to be one of us.
You know, you've given this fucking guy a lot of rolls with his high stuff. Where's my politics rolls? Where's my academics?
It's on the way.
3.
3. Okay. Benton, you look out the window and you see Noah standing in the garden with Monroe and Les.
Monroe or Marlowe?
Marlowe, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Marlowe.
Who's Monroe?
Marlowe, Les Kershaw, and Noah, whose last name I will not attempt to pronounce,
Fashnak.
are standing in the garden. And Noah has just shot a clay disc out of the air.
Benton's probably sweating, a little flashback fear of what it could have been going on. And he'll go back, get dressed, and probably make his way outside.
Okay. Josh, Kingsley Burke is woken suddenly by the sound of gunfire as well. You're a little out of sorts for a moment. You don't realize where you are. You look to the side of you and you see a coffee table with half-eaten breakfast and a half-finished glass of scotch. You are in the leather armchair in Marlowe's study. You remember coming in here and speaking to him earlier today, telling him about the ambush on the train tracks and how you and these other men walked all night to get to here. And you remember just sort of trailing off, falling asleep right here, exhausted after being up for throughout the entire night and walking longer than you've walked in a very long time.
Kingsley sits up quickly and he actually, kind of looks around wildly for a moment. And then he reaches for that pistol that Noah, I believe, gave him, recovered from one of the attempted assassins. And he kind of pats it, checks the load, and rises, grabs his cane and kind of tries quietly limp out of the room.
Okay. You all eventually make your way to the garden. John, you shoot that pigeon out of the air, and then Marlowe says, "Excellent shot."
Thank you. You see, this rifle does not sacrifice anything in accuracy. And I rack another bolt.
He says, "What's the rate of fire like?"
As quickly as you can pull the bolt back. Perhaps 6 rounds. Maybe all rounds in about 15 seconds, 30 seconds. Yeah.
I got to give this a try. He turns towards one of his. There's 2 footmen here, 2 guys that work for him. And one of them is operating this clay disc machine that just flings these things into the air. And he says, tilt it up a little bit. Put 3 of them in there. And he says, pull. And Josh, you walk outside just in time to see this rapid succession of 3 shots. The third one almost misses. It like clips it. But the first 2 are dead on. And
excellent shot, Marlowe.
He says, must jam easy.
Well, there were some problems in the beginning with jamming, but I think we have it all ironed out. My countries, they are ordering maybe 5,000 ahead.
He shakes his head impressed. He says, "This is going to make you a millionaire."
Yeah. Well, I hope so.
Very impressive, Mr. Fashnak, but may I request as one a bit green to combat that we may perhaps forewarn each other of gunfire immediately preceding assassination attempts.
My apologies. I was excited to show Marlowe this weapon.
You all managed to get 5 or 6 hours of sleep. You arrived here very early in the morning, just as him and his family were having breakfast. After filling him in on what happened and having a conversation about the curse, you all went to bed and got a couple hours of sleep. Noah and Les, the 2 of you have been up for about an hour now, came out here, had a little bit of lunch with Marlowe and did some shooting. And now you're all awake. Marlowe unloads the gun and puts it on the table. And he says, I took the liberty of speaking to the sheriff and asking him to hold off on doing anything over at the gorge. I thought we might want the opportunity to take a look at that site during daylight. The plan is to send the work team out now. They'll take a little while to get there. And I was thinking anyone who wanted to accompany me, we could go first thing in the morning. Be back by sundown.
Yeah, let's go back to that party.
I'd like to see it at daylight.
It would be a good idea to get some sort of lay of the land. Perhaps there's something we missed, yeah?
I think it's wise that we lay eyes back. I do feel personally, I fear I would hold you back, and perhaps my efforts would be better met here in town, or perhaps even on the grounds. Plus, I do like to split the party, so. I have been thinking about Kingsley. He got fucking rocked by that willpower.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to think, like, I don't know, am I role playing that right? And I think basically how he's reacting to it is trying just denial, basically. Yeah. So whatever he saw up there with that body, he's trying to ground himself back in the world as he knows.
You're full Scully. You're going full
Scully.
I think that Noah also got rocked by willpower, but he'd rather confirm his knowledge that it wasn't anything weird in the daylight.
I'm also Craven.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
no, it's good.
Your reaction is to hang back. Yeah. My reaction is to I want to make sure scientifically that this is just it's just a big old vulture or something.
Well,
BOUS's birds unusual size.
He says, "Well, I'd like to head out first thing tomorrow morning. We'll probably catch up to the rail working crew, and we'll get there before noon. Take a look around, then head back."
That sounds good to me.
Doesn't have to be a big thing. Welcome to stay here if you don't feel like going. But, I mean, you've got a sort of critical eye that I think the rest of us don't quite capture.
Yes, I mean, I suppose with a bit more rest, my leg will come back to itself a bit. We just still have the steeds, and I do.
Oh, we got good horses here, right, Les?
Sure as shooting.
I have been thinking a bit since I awoke of perhaps, James, I'd love to look over some of your books, especially your family records. I'm curious what we can help piece together, help us what signs of the past might allow us to perhaps illuminate what, not fate, but what goals are headed in your direction.
Absolutely. Can do that. Can hit the books today if you want, or wait till tomorrow. It's up to you. I've done a little bit of research myself. I've got a lot of information on pretty much every Marlowe I could find information on. My father did the same thing, so got some of his notes as well. But
Yes.
You're welcome to dig through them.
I think
he pulls out a pocket watch. He says it's about 2:00 now, so got a little bit of time.
perhaps we may find get at least a little bit dug in here, and then perhaps while there's still some light, head into town. I do not know when the best time for it is, but I do think we need to find more information about our would-be assassins.
We do, and I'm concerned about that because that is not, to be quite frank, it's not what I expected. As I said, that man, David Dawson, he was a good man, a well-liked man. And now I'm worried about what might be going on in this town. A lot of these people I have known my whole life. There's a few that I trust pretty well. Thinking I'm going to get 2 men in particular, have them come along with us tomorrow for some extra guns. Of course, you men will have guns as well, I'm sure, and know how to use them. But want to show force, make sure no one tries anything on the road. So I was planning on going into town in a few hours and looking up a few old friends.
Silas has been kind of quiet up to this point. He had previously been sitting in the garden with like a notebook, and in lieu of not having his camera, he often is prone to do sketches of the environment and kind of just take notes as a journalist would. And he closes his notebook and he looks kind of back up to the group standing around the table, and he says, Marlowe, do you have any obligations to Sheriff Williams to tell him what we already know? I did not feel compelled to tell him that it was David Dawson.
I didn't think to mention it either. Not that I felt it necessary to deceive him, but do you think this is something we should keep between us?
It's your town, your sheriff. I couldn't tell you one way or the other, but I wanted to at least bring it into the light.
So just a note. It's not his town,
yeah.
but it kind of does have that feel of like English landlord almost.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jake, does he own the mine?
He does.
Okay.
It's his town.
It's just, yeah.
But yeah, technically the sheriff is not beholden to him.
He owns
Right.
the tavern and he owns the.
Yeah.
That was-
He owns
all
the private security
yeah.
company that the sheriff works
Pinkertons.
for.
Yeah.
But it's not his town.
And that was the purpose of my question, is knowing that probably his influence, and he is probably the unofficial mayor of the town, or maybe the official mayor, I don't know. But just whether he felt any legal obligation towards the sheriff, I don't know. I was just sussing that out.
Sure. He says, well, it's up to you folks. If you think it best to keep this between us, we can. Sheriff is pretty receptive to my suggestions.
I mean, due respect, Mr. Keene. I mean, it's a small town. Mr. Dawson's disappearance is going to sure turn some heads pretty soon. It might be best to get it out in the open.
It's going to come out as soon as that work crew gets back from the bridge. As soon as they see the body, they get back here, they're going to let everyone know.
I mean, we can spread the word, tell our story, what happened, and then, head out.
Perhaps in waiting, in uncovering more of the story, in who his partner was, it may be best to keep what advantage we may have in others who may be a part of this plot in the dark.
You think they are more than just a group of, Noah kind of shrugs, radicals that attempted this?
If there is, then we will keep the advantage. If there isn't, we have lost nothing.
Yeah.
It's certainly too early to say anything for certain and even to put out a strong theory, but I think the mere fact that there is this trend which indicates murder most foul going back several generations in Mr. Marlowe's family would lead me to believe that the simple, obvious indication at hand that this must be related to our most recent conflict is perhaps short-sighted, and conspiracy of a much more long-lasting, grander nature is perhaps in order. You spoke of things which I know, with all respect, Mr. Beauclair, I do not fully allow myself to delve into, but it is not to say that perhaps, as I think on it, some of those who are part of this conspiracy may not believe in that there is a religious or even a cult-based aspect of this. I mean, if it is some sort of driving desire against this reputable family. Anyway, I'm speaking too long without enough behind it. I must delve a bit deeper so I can put something a little bit more finite into work.
I believe, to your point, Mr. Burke, that the conspiracy with Marlowe and the tragedy of his family would seem somehow unrelated to individuals trying to assassinate us. Is that correct?
Well, I do think it is in fact related. I think we have to at least give the benefit of the doubt to Mr. Marlowe that there is credence to this conspiracy. That, I mean, there is no harm in assuming that his life is indeed gravely in danger if we are allowed to perhaps rescue it. And if that is the case, one must think that him summoning us here and this attempted derailment and murder, which would have no gain to these men except to remove us from the picture, an empty train, no material gain, I do think it is related. I just think that to point to our recent conflict in the United States, perhaps it is the easy thing to reach for, but it does not answer what has befallen generations of Marlowe's family.
Silas turns to Marlowe, and he looks at him and he says, "Is there a record, sir, of those that may have come to your family's aid in the past, of those people too perishing?"
Nothing particular comes to mind.
What of any ill fallen upon family besides your direct patriarchal lineage?
Why don't you guys all give me a roll of
D20, right?
Nope. We'll do insight and
That's my
wits.
dice bag.
Insight and wits.
Or not.
Someone didn't have his dice ready when we started.
I see a lot of different shapes there, Josh. I don't know.
Might need them all.
Insight and what was the other one, Jake?
Wit.
Quits.
Wit.
2 10s.
Wow. Okay.
Success is 6.
Correct.
Five for Noah.
Wow.
Very insightful. Well, we were out here all day with Marlowe, so you know.
True.
Do ones take away?
No. I mean, unless you rolled a hunger die. And then
3 for Silas.
1 success for Benton.
Okay. Josh, what did you get?
What's my hero's name? Kingsley got 2 successes.
Okay. So Marlowe actually he says nothing really comes to mind. And then he realizes that you all kind of catch that he's hiding something.
Yeah.
Like you all kind of give him a look.
Yeah.
and he thinks on it for a second and he goes, "Well, my mother, she's not well. She's healthy for a woman her age, but her mind is muddled. And, well, there was always a lot of tension between her and my father. You could try to talk to her about it."
Are you suggesting that her malady now is somehow unnatural?
I never thought of it that way, but I don't know. I'm just trying to put it all out there for you. Silas, I don't know what could help us, but it's possible.
Is your mother here living with you?
Again, he looks like he's hesitant to share this information.
Such a loser. Lives with the mom.
And those of you who have known him for a while, Josh, you realize now that you've never heard much about his mother. And he says, well, what a lot of people don't know is that my father took a Wampanoag bride. She changed her name to Anna. You've heard that his mother's name is Anna. He says, but her name before that was Agila. And, well, she found the church. She found God, became a proper Christian woman until my father died. And then she started believing, the things she was brought up believing. Stopped being known as Anna. And, well, a few years ago, she left town.
do you not know where she is?
Oh, I know. She lives with a small tribe of Tutulos west of the valley.
Is this common with Americans?
He shakes his head.
This is your mother by blood, James?
That's right. Anna.
Yes, well, perhaps we do have some more urgent matters, but if time provides and depending on what we find here, it may be quite useful to be able to speak with her, but we can focus on other affairs for now. Kind of Kingsley's recognized that Marlowe seems a bit uncomfortable with this and sort of trying to move on.
Well, shall we put this in the safe, yeah? I kind of tap on the rifle.
Sure.
Pick it up.
Although a lot of good that's going to do us. Not sure who's got access to it at this point.
Have you ever shared the combination of the safe?
Oh, it's a key, but only people who have keys are me and Octavius.
I kind of look to the house as he says that.
He's the head butler.
Yep.
I jot down a note in my notebook.
So, guys, at this point, you got kind of free reign to go off and do whatever you want for the rest of the day. I'm totally down for everyone sticking together or kind of separating off, and we can do a little montage of what people do. It's up to you guys.
I think the Noah taking the rifle back to the safe is pretext for him searching the room
Nice.
and seeing if it was
Nice little setup there, John.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think Silas wants to go and negotiate with the Lupine tribe that's over in the mountains.
Already?
Already.
We're only in
Jeez.
game 3. You're already negotiating with the Lupines?
Yeah.
I feel like we send
That's
less.
second act,
we
dude.
send less on that mission.
That's fair. That's fair. He speaks pony already. So.
Halfway there.
Got some animal kin.
Yeah, he's our quadruped kind of head of quadruped relations.
So, and to be clear, Marlowe had talked, when we leave, we're going to leave tomorrow morning.
You're going to leave in the morning.
Okay.
Yep.
He talked about going into town today.
He's going to go into
Okay.
town to find two guys that he knows that he trusts and ask them to come along just as riflemen, essentially. So anyone who wants to accompany him into town and then maybe do your own thing or stick with him is fine.
I think Silas will accompany him to town, kind of first as an observer of him kind of being in town and the townsfolk around him. And then second to that, just getting the lay of the land of the town and probably exploring it a bit. How far is his home from the town?
It's
just
a
on-
10-minute walk.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So I think Silas just wants to get a working version of the town and its layout in his mind.
All right. Ryan?
To keep, I want to keep that Les and Silas team going. So, yeah.
All right.
I'll go into town as well.
All right. Cool. Matt?
I think Benton probably go into town as well. But if there's downtime, he'd probably walk around Marlowe's property, just kind of,
You had mentioned to me, Matt, earlier that you wanted to maybe go talk to like the freed slave community.
yes.
Do you want to, when you go to town, are you planning on doing that?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Cut off from the rest of the group
All right.
and go talk to them.
And Josh,
I think Kingsley,
Biblioteca.
yeah, he had thought about going to town, but I feel like we had enough people doing that. And I think he's going to dig into the books and then just really kind of get wrapped up in it. And, as long as he finds anything to kind of, even if he doesn't get conclusive information, as long as there's enough here to spend time on, he wants to read up more on Marlowe's family. I mean, I'm sure Kingsley knows a bit about his family. They've been connected for a long time, but go back more. And then anything you can find about the deaths of any of his family members, any kind of accounts, anything that connects them, where, it happened. I want to go further back as much as I can, basically, on the family side.
Okay.
So me and Kingsley will be in the study, basically doing two different tasks, and maybe I'll end up helping
I
Ryler.
like that idea of let's say that the library is kind of attached to the study.
Yeah.
That way we can
Makes
kind of
sense.
have you guys in the same scene.
And maybe we'll kind of contribute to each other. If I see you looking at something, I'll limp
So-
on over.
Is it a secret passage that attached the two?
It's behind the
bookcase,
Declaration of Independence.
Please, can Nicholas Cage be in this? Please.
I thought we were fucking about to go to Clue, and you guys took
I
it
was
right
going
into
Clue.
National Treasure.
Yeah.
So you all make your way back into the study then, and where all of your breakfast has been cleared out now by the staff, and Marlowe puts the rifles in the case, and then he takes out a revolver and he puts it in a holster under his jacket, and he says, Les, Benton, Silas, you men feel free to bring weapons with you if you feel it necessary.
Sidearms only, or
That might be for the best.
all
We
right?
don't want to look like we're marching in with a militia. He says, take something out of here if you need something or not. And then you guys get your shit together and head out. And as he leaves, he gives you the key, Noah.
Okay.
Gives you the key to the cabinet. And he says, you can ring for Octavius if you need him. Like I said, he's the only other person who should have access to this room. The whole staff has instructions to help all of you out in any way you need. That's what they're paid for, so don't hesitate to ask them.
Thank you, Marlowe.
And the four of you leave while Noah and Kingsley stay in the study. So you all start walking towards town. Meanwhile, in the study, so there are these two like double glass paned doors that lead into the library room off of the study. So you open those doors and it's, like almost like a double parlor type situation. Sorry, that's Josh Kingsley. You open those doors into the library room, which is attached to the study. And you walk in and you're kind of amazed by his collection of books. You get a little distracted for a moment just looking at all of these crazy first editions and handwritten versions of old texts.
A lot of Japanese erotic manuals.
Hentai. Yeah. And also, you went to
truly a citizen of the world, James Marlowe.
Yeah, Kingsley went to Georgetown with James Marlowe, so you recognize a lot of these texts as things that you read when you were in school.
I kind of nod or make a noise to myself, sort of impressed with Mr. Marlowe, who I didn't always think took his studies as seriously as he could have.
It might be that he takes his studies seriously. It might also be that he
Appearances?
went, I was supposed to read this in school, so I should own it.
Sure.
It might be a little bit of both. John, you start looking over the gun cabinet.
Yeah.
So why don't the two of you give me some rolly rolls? What do you guys think these rolls would be?
I would... I guess for my personal thing, more on the family tree, I might make an argument that
It's about family
intelligence
politics.
and academics I have investigation too, but this seems more of like a
This is like a research
book
job.
learning
like
shit.
a research thing. Yeah, I'll take it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think.
Hold. Actually, no. Go, John. Go.
okay.
Hold on the roll.
I think Noah wants to first determine whether it looks like the lock itself was damaged or attacked in any way. And also to determine, like, even just by looking at the key, how complex of a lock it is. Like, is it easy to be picked or whatever?
Yep.
That's like the first thing he wants to look at. So, either I don't have any investigation. So maybe technology or I don't know.
I guess, and when I help
Technology would be good.
John, I would say I would help. Like if he's looking at more the tech side, I would use investigation. Kingsley would sort of, his sort of technical description of what's happening with the lock or the mechanism or the rifle or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, John, why don't you give me the technology roll plus intelligence.
Okay.
And that'll kind of dictate the direction that the success goes. And Josh, you can do before you roll. So keep in mind the way this works. I'm going to give you guys usually I'd give you a target number.
Yep.
And if your dice pool is double that target number, you do have the option to take an auto success with a complication.
Yep.
In this case, the complication might mean that you kind of maybe get some incorrect information. So keep that in mind. But what I want to do for this particular roll is something a little different. Instead of giving you a target number, the more successes you get, the more information you're going to get.
Okay.
So go ahead and roll your dice and keep in mind there is willpower.
I don't have much of it.
Yeah, neither of us. The fucking no willpower,
Yeah.
boys. Do you want Kingsley to make the academics one or the investigation?
Start off with that academics roll.
Okay.
How much can you reroll per willpower? 3, right?
Cool.
3 dice.
Cool. 6 dice, 1 success.
Yeah, 6 dice, 1 success as well. Do I spend?
I have 2 fucking willpower.
Same. Same.
But it's like, this is the fucking only time he's going to be useful.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to spend 1.
Same.
I mean, it's just fucking...
Spend that willpower, baby.
2 more.
So after spending willpower, I have a average roll of what I should have gotten.
3 successes.
3 successes.
Three
Kingsley?
successes as well.
Yeah.
3 and 3. Okay. 3 is good. That I have a little chart here. I don't remember what that actually equals. Let me see. Normal. All right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to send you both some information. Actually, I'm going to send you both some information, and then I want you to do. But before I do that, I want you to do a roll to assist each other.
Okay.
So, Josh, make that investigation roll, and John, your roll. Tell me what you think this pool is going to be. But your role is basically going to be based on the time you've spent with Marlowe and maybe some things he's told you about his family that might help.
Like pinpoint what to read,
Sure.
look up.
Sure.
Etiquette or insight?
Insight.
Insight, okay.
Yeah.
All right. My assist is that investigation and intelligence or wits? Intelligence?
Intelligence.
Same.
Yeah.
I guess.
Intelligence for me as well.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Nice. 2 zeros. So that's 4.
Ooh. Shit.
I looked first and I was like 1, 1, 2, 0. I was like, I got 1. I was like, ooh.
Another 0. 3 for me. 3 for
Wow.
me.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
We're better helpers.
Yeah, we're better helpers.
We're helpers.
All right.
Peer to peer,
Back and forth.
back and forth.
Give me just a moment to email you both.
Nasty.
Ooh.
Graham.
And then what I'm going to do while you both look over this info is I'm going to jump to the other group,
You
and then
sending us hentai?
we can jump back to you guys after you've kind of sussed out
Your initial roll, Josh, you were distracted by a well-worn copy of the Karma Sutra.
But then you discover that this Karma Sutra actually has some printed information.
And bird erotica.
Oh, that's how his mom died. Jesus.
All right. Well, I've given John and Josh a bunch of info to pore over, and they're going to come up with their own scene, their own awesome scene that they're going to narrate without my help. And it's going to be so cool. And we'll jump back to that in a little while. But meanwhile, Silas, Les, Benton, and Marlowe are walking into Black Valley. The four of you are walking down the road. It's early afternoon at this point. It is still December, so it's chilly. And as you're walking, you're quiet for a few minutes, and then James says, again, I just want to thank all of you for coming out here. I know this is imposition. It's, maybe something I should have asked for help on a long time ago, but the years kind of creep up on you.
Silas, kind of probably walking beside him, nods, but doesn't say anything. It's a little strange, I think, for Silas because his relationship with Marlowe was almost entirely through correspondence.
Uh-huh.
He met him maybe once or twice.
Meeting your AIM friend in real life.
Yeah. and a lot of it was, wasn't usually great stuff.
And also like an authority, like he was more of like a boss employee situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And specifically probably one of the more frightening or terrible moments of the war for Silas came at the command of Marlowe.
Yep.
In terms of having to actually kill someone. So he's probably got a lot of mixed feelings about being here in the presence of him. So I think for the most part, Silas is pretty reserved when speaking to Marlowe and watching kind of his relationships with the people he knows better, like Burke and Noah.
Yep.
And probably especially Kershaw, because Kershaw was kind of like a adopted son, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, all that to say that Silas kind of nods and kind of holds his tongue, though.
Okay. So when you guys get into like the town proper, like the main thoroughfare, where you met the sheriff before, he sort of stops. Marlowe stops in front of the church, and he says, "Well, I'm going down this way. You gentlemen looking for anything in particular, or?"
Silas says, I believe I would like to explore, to understand the layout of the town and this place you call home. So I will walk. Shall I meet you here?
Sure. He pulls out his timepiece and he says, how about 5 o'clock? He points up at the church and he says, it'll ring.
Very good.
Mr. Marlowe, all respect, with everything you've done for me over the years, I figured I'd at least stick with you. Try to keep an eye on you as best I can.
He says, I do appreciate that, Les. It's going to take more than a few farmers with rifles to take me out, but still, can't hurt.
Yeah, me?
Mr. Beauclair?
Well, my people.
He just points.
When the church ring, I'll meet you here.
Sounds good. Dan, where is Silas walking towards?
I think he is from... is the church kind of the center of town?
Yeah.
Okay.
The town hall is right across the street from it.
I think that Silas is going to start walking towards... head down the main thoroughfare and head towards kind of the outskirts of town.
Okay.
And then sort of work his way back, but from another direction, if there is one.
Sure.
He kind of wants to understand the kind of outer limits as they are, and then work his way back to really get a lay of the land and how people come and go and what is here in this town.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And Matt, I know where you're going. And Ryan, you follow Marlowe. Let's stick with the two of you for a minute. So he makes his way through town to a fairly nice looking house, brick 2-story house. And he knocks at the door and he says, I don't know if you have ever met Frederick Martins, but he actually served with me and your father. He was at Elk River.
He was at Elk River?
He was.
Huh.
He actually moved here right after that. And he's been head of my mind ever since.
Well, I don't know that I ever had the pleasure of meeting him, but, well.
Door opens, and this middle-aged looking man with sort of darker complexion, not like black, but, highly tanned sort of skin, non-white, as they say. Dark, kind of curly hair with a lot of white in it, and a short black beard. And he looks pretty surprised to see Marlowe, and he looks at you kind of for a moment, like confused, like, who is this kid? And then he says, Mr. Marlowe, hello. Come in. He takes his hat off and walks in. It's a nice house. This guy clearly has a good amount of money. If he's the head of the mining operation, he must. You see a woman in like a side room, like that's probably a kitchen. You're not sure. She looks like she's probably like a cook, like a paid laborer, not a member of his family. But he brings you both inside and he says, if this is about the northern mine, the flooding, not much we can do about it. Marlowe says, no, not about that. He says, Frederick, I'd like you to meet Les Kershaw. He looks surprised by the last name. He says, Les Kershaw. Yes, I knew your father. Frederick Martins. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Martins.
He's a good man.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Have a seat. You drink?
If you're offering, yeah.
Goes and gets this jug of wine and pours you a drink. It's a thick, dark wine.
I don't know I ever drank nothing like that before, but...
This is from my homeland. This is called Madeira.
Well, how about that?
He sits down and drinks with the two of you. He says, you didn't just come to. What was your father's first name?
Also Les.
Oh,
Yeah.
you didn't
Yeah.
just come to introduce me to Les Jr. And Marlowe says, no. I got a little bit of trouble outside of town, and I need a man who's a good shot and I can trust. Frederick shakes his head. He says, we leave now? He says, nope, first thing in the morning. He says, well, then we have time for a drink? He says, yeah, we have time for one. And he says, so, Les, tell me about yourself.
Well, ain't much to tell. After the war, Mr. Marlowe here took me in. I was with him in Baltimore for many a year, and then struck out on my own. Was a rider for the Pony Express for,
Never heard of it.
You ain't heard of the Pony Express. Wow, we brought mail cross country, before the telegraph and all. But
So for like a week.
yeah, for it was several months, almost 2 years, almost. After spelling that, I was just working in the Utah territory, do mostly ranch work before Mr. Marlowe contacted me to come back here and lend him a hand.
He looks towards Marlowe and he says, seems like he likes to give all of us jobs now that the wars are over. He says, what did you do recently? You weren't part of the Army of the Potomac?
Me? No, I was out west all that time for the last 10 years or so. Only just recently got back here.
Oh, it's good. A lot of the younger men in town, the ones that managed to come home, they're not the same. Their bodies or their minds.
I understand it weren't nothing like that out there, but plenty of skirmishes with the local tribes.
Let's have another drink. We'll jump over to in the house. Well, Ryan, think about if there's anything else you want to ask him. Meanwhile, in the house, what's going on?
Just a clarification.
Sure.
In that nasty gram, you had mentioned Monroe. Is that a different family as well, or is that just a spelling?
I really put Monroe?
You did for the you put Marlowe and then Monroe for the second.
Oh
Finkel
no!
is Ihorn.
Hold on.
Said, formerly owned by the Monroe family, accompany them to America.
Oh no, that should be Marlowe.
Okay, cool. Copy.
Josh, you've got a Monroe in there, but that's actually
That's a non-mistake.
President type.
that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Go.
All right. Noah is at the gun safe, kind of like walking around it with the key in his hand. He steps back, says, "Yeah, if that's the key, I don't think you could pick this very easily. And perhaps you could take it apart, but it would take time and men."
John, there's no sign of any damage around the lock. And it would be very hard to not leave a single scratch. Near impossible.
Kingsley, he kind of stands and stretches. He's walked over and standing right over Noah's shoulder, and he's reached down and grabbed. There's like a ledger inside that safe as you're talking. He's been flicking through it, and he says, well, hard to say it, but it's difficult to say that we cannot quite put suspicion of his most trusted servant, Octavius, away.
He does have the other key, yeah?
I mean, if that's the case, I know there are those high-level criminals, perhaps.
It would take someone very skilled.
But locksmith, some of this nature, but it just seems odd.
Even if there's a locksmith, it would leave marks on the filigree of the keyhole here.
Well, and this, he kind of stops. He looks back down at the ledger and up at the case again, and he says, That's odd. I'm certainly not the expert in firearms that you are. No, but I can't imagine any of those two pistols there. Neither of those were what you would call Derringer, would they?
Look at them. They're...
Well, he hands you the ledger and says, according to this, this is an accurate accounting of the firearms that James keeps here. That is the only one that's missing now, whether those two rifles have been replaced. Perhaps he has it on him for the trip into town, of course.
Is it not uncommon, to have a holdout pistol like that, just in case? Especially what he is experiencing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd, too. I mean, here we are in Black Valley. I mean, a rifle is not a difficult thing to get one's hands on for most of these. I suppose just the quality of the things.
Those rifles are very unique. They are probably the most accurate rifles that you can get, especially if there's optics on it. You don't find that anywhere.
Yeah, well, I suppose you've taken a look at the firearms. Nothing looks tampered with or unusual.
Not that I can see. The firearms that we confiscated off those bodies was certainly his, by this account. But nothing strange. These are a collection of a man who has been to war.
Well, then, I need to get back. Kingsley glances over or nods over towards the table where he has, multiple books and, kind of parchments, family trees, articles, things like that, just kind of spread everywhere. Sort of rubs his eyes a bit and he says, I'm piecing together what I can. I'm afraid it's not quite as conclusive. I just wish I'd rolled better, but I've come up certainly some cursory information, but I dare say nothing that strongly indicates, besides a possible coincidence of the age, nothing that indicates anything approaching a conspiracy or any kind of... He's walking kind of over towards the table as he talks, and...
Noah kind of leans over the books you have. That Adam is his grandfather?
Correct.
Okay. Sure, I got the time
I
right.
mean, I've traced back 6 generations past Marlowe, and indeed it seems that every one of them let slip this mortal coil before their 50th birthday. In fact, in the year of it. Many of the dates are not specific beyond that, but I've only been able to solidly ascertain anything approaching a cause of death for a couple of these individuals. And
here, I was like looking at a kind of an account of family history. He always spoke about his grandfather Adam. He always had him in high regard. He was a cavalry officer at Waterloo. You say conspiracy. Well, the story of how they came to America, the King George, he seized their property due to taxes. Some excuse Marlowe, from their perspective, it was more of a opportune moment when they were away. But he came back to nothing. So he took his family and the 200 around a few hundred of the people who lived on the land and came to America and founded Black Valley.
Huh, I did not know. I never knew the background behind Marlowe's family coming here in the first place. I do know that they had indeed been part of responsible for founding this town here, but
it was Adam who had started digging the coal mine, and that is what killed him. Some say they were assassins sent by King George for defying him, but from all accounts, at least in here, it was an accident.
I mean, I've seen another early generation. I mean, many of these men, it's a prestigious family, landowner family. I mean, it is not surprised that many of them had children young, and in fact, almost all of them by the age of 20 have been passed on to the next generation. -1 unless I'm missing an entire generation. But they also largely served in the military arms. Again, no surprise there. Found killed in action in India, in the Carnatic Wars, and then other deaths, possibly in combat. In fact, his father, Blake, his official calls, the closest thing I could find to it here was that he was killed by disgruntled Indians. Now, I hate to say it, I'm sort of coming back on my own words I spoke not several hours ago, but nothing here indicates a conspiracy or any sort of motivation besides the coincidence of this age. And perhaps it is just something that his father latched onto out of some sort of fear or paranoia. And he's passed that on to James. And as he nears this benchmark age, he's caught up in the realities of it. But other than that, he did marry one of these natives, and he served as the Bureau of Indian Affairs. He served in the Bureau of Indian Affairs. His own son at the time was fighting in the Elk River War. There are many things make it reasonable to think that he befell his hands at these people. There are many, but of course, you know as well as I that there are some savage tribes.
I cannot say I am as familiar as you, Kingsley. But
many have come to be quite civilized and perhaps learn to read, write.
Found God.
Found God. Turned away from the pagan, disgusting way. But it is not unreasonable to think in the back and forth. Many of these people feel that they were perhaps not done right. I just do not find anything here to point us in the direction of murder, of conspiracy. I'm at a bit of a loss, and this is interesting what you say about the grandfather, but even if that is true, I see no connection between these things.
Yeah, it is only 2 generations away. It's not like it was the beginning of this perhaps conspiracy, yeah? And the deaths don't seem to correspond to each other, yeah? One in battle, one in an accident in a coal mine, one by ambush.
The rest, I will continue to seek details, but I do not know how much more we'll find than here in the man's library himself. And I just, as I said, there's no harm in assuming that Marlowe is in danger if there's a way we can save him from it. But we do know that something has conspired here in Black Valley.
That is for sure. Perhaps the source of the information is a bit one-sided. Perhaps there is more information in town. That the church, sometimes they have libraries themselves. History of the town.
Yes, now actually, especially, I hadn't thought of it a lot that this town is not just where Marlowe lives, but in fact, the very creation of his family.
However, it only goes back to one generation, only to his, or 2 generations, to his grandfather. So it's not like the formation of this town even was part of the conspiracy, if there was one.
So with that in mind, something that you guys kind of think about, Josh, Kingsley thinks there are probably records of Blake Marlowe, his father's death. The sheriff would probably have records of that, because that was
not that long ago.
Not that long ago, and it was a matter of the local law. So you might be able to get more information either through town hall or from the sheriff himself. And John, you think that these coal mining operations are. It's a company. It's big money.
Yeah.
They probably keep pretty thorough documentation about accidents and deaths and stuff like that. You could probably find more information on that mining accident.
Okay.
if you talked to someone in that company
Okay.
or, looked at their records or something.
Yep. I think for the rest of the day, Noah probably will just do a cursory glance around the room, like checking windows and things of that nature to see if there's any forced entry.
Okay.
Maybe they got to Octavius and held him hostage and made him open the safe, something like that. So getting any kind of sense of forced entry outside of just the gun case.
Sure.
itself.
Are you going to question Octavius?
I was just going to.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to
Maybe I'll have Kingsley question.
help you?
So Kingsley was going to say, I said, well, I'm going to continue to spend some time this evening in here and exhaust the efforts while we can, but I do think I need to put it on the list, make way into town, find what we can, records there. I also find myself desperate to be in a situation to see the reaction when word is passed around town of the men who fell outside the town. But the other thing that we have at our grasp here is the holder of the other key.
I think you should perhaps have a discussion with him. You are a better judge of characters than I am.
If it does not go well, perhaps you can shoot him.
Well, I will not miss if that is necessary. I will check the rest of this room and perhaps the library to see if there was any kind of forced entry. Although if he was held at gunpoint or held hostage to open this case, you would think you would mention it to Marlowe. But perhaps he was threatened with more permanent damage if he was to disclose this, yeah?
Yeah, let's speak to the man, and perhaps, I'm certainly comfortable speaking, and sniffing a lie out is something that I found myself quite frequently attempting in the world of politics, but you could render me some great assistance if perhaps you could let something slip or give an indication, something which would be incorrect in a technical nature about a firearm or the access to it. So I may gauge his reaction.
Let's
think on it.
So you guys call you call
If you want to cut back
Octavius.
or
So you walk over and you pick a little bell up off of an end table and you ring it, and we'll cut back to that in a minute. Josh, I'm just gonna send you a little tiny thing as well.
Little itty bitty nastygram.
Tiny thing. I'm just assuming now, but you think Kingsley speaks Latin?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, at least like can read and write it, and
If so facto.
I don't know how often he speaks it out loud,
Very rarely.
but
I don't think even then,
quotes
other
it.
than like mass.
Yeah.
There's a little nastygram for you.
Because he's
good
Roman
luck.
Catholic.
Good luck pronouncing that. By the way, if you so dare.
Okay.
Okay, ring that bell, and then we cut to Matt.
I'm excited for this.
Benton Beauclair. What are
See
you
how
doing?
this goes.
How's this gonna go?
He probably makes his way to the, I would assume southern part of town.
So to speak.
Basically he's going to go into sort of the free slave town. He's, going to, sort of play up his priest status, his Ogun status, which is a voodoo priest. He'd go into town, hand out sugar, like little packs of sugar and candies, spices that he has as offerings from Oshun, one of the voodoo Iwa, to buy goodwill. And he's going to pretty much just ask around what anybody knows about the Marlowes, what they know about the native people in the area. As well as if they've overheard anybody talking ill about Mr. Marlowe. Also, if they know of any sort of black magic, angry spirits that, because former slaves were very superstitious back then. So, any black magic places that they've avoided for any specific for any reasons, that kind of thing.
Okay. You hand out this sugar to a couple kids who are probably like 10, 12 years old.
Yeah, you
and
do.
You,
Yeah, you do,
oh, come
Candyman.
on. Oh.
These are gifts from Papa Legba. He's the protector of the children.
And one of them actually tells you, he says, you should talk to Grandpa Tandon. And he points to a house. A house that kind of looks a little out of place in this part of town. It's pretty nice. It's brick. It's pretty well kept. Obviously, whoever lives there has money. But they point and say, you should talk to Grandpa Tandon. And then they run off and they kind of stop halfway down the street and turn back and go, thank you. And then keep running.
Grandpa Tandon?
Mm-hmm.
I shall make my way over to this fancy house.
Okay. You knock at the door, and a moment later, it opens, and this old man, face is just all wrinkle, answers the door. And he's dressed fairly nice. It's later in the afternoon now. He's wearing almost like a smoking jacket. And he looks up at you through these spectacles. And he says, what are you supposed to be?
I am Ogun Benton. I was told Grandpa Tandon can help me.
Come in. When you get lost, fall out of the swamp?
Something like that.
Well, it's almost tea time, so have a seat.
Oh, thank you.
You drink anything in your tea? Do you drink tea?
I'm
You Creole?
okay, thank you.
He says, are you Creole?
Yes, I'm from the bayou, but I am like you.
Matt, as you say that, this guy is not like you. He holds himself in a way that is very different. He's got he sort of has like the arrogance of a lot of like the white people you've known.
Just kind of looking over him and seeing that.
And he turns and he says, well, like me, huh?
Perhaps not like you, sir.
So what can I do for you? He pours you some tea.
Mr. Marlowe, he has asked me to come to this Black Valley and help him.
He asked you to help him. Must be getting desperate. He sits down and pours himself a tea. He says, desperate enough to give up on the grace of the Lord and ask for help from Papa Legba.
Papa Legba does serve the Lord. All the Iwa serve Bondi.
Well, this must be about the curse.
It is true, then, yes.
Oh, sure as hell it's true. So, what can I do for you?
Well, you could start with what you know about it.
Well, what I know about it, I was, let's see, how old was I? I was just a boy when Adam Marlowe died. Hardly even remember that. Oh, I'm sorry. Looking back at my notes. Hold on a moment. I was just a boy when Brian Marlowe died. Don't really remember that so well. But I remember his father, Adam. That would be James's grandfather. He was a good man. I remember when he was trapped in that mine for 4 days. They finally dug those boys out, and it was too late for him. And now Blake,
The others, they make it out?
he looks like he's kind of thinking about it like it was so long ago. He says, they did. I think they're all dead now, but 3 other men made it out. Blake, Blake and I were about the same age. Came over to America together when we were 14, 15 maybe. Spent a lot of time with Blake. I was with him when he died.
And what was that? What happened?
We were attacked on the road. Well, it's the tracks now, but it was a road then. We were attacked by Indians on our way back from Baltimore. Group of them. Seems like maybe they'd been tracking us or waiting for us. I don't know. But we almost didn't make it out of there. He kind of pulls his chair out and he pulls up his shirt, and you see on his wrinkled stomach, you see a scar of a gunshot wound. And he says, by the grace of God, I made it out, but it was a rough going for a while. Didn't think I'd make it. But Blake wasn't so lucky.
Was he in their fight, or?
It was the 3 of us, maybe 6 of them. I don't remember much of the couple weeks after that. I was in and out, but they tracked him down eventually and got him. But, you know, he had mentioned it to me. He had told me about it. After his father died, Blake had told me about the curse. I didn't really think anything of it. It wasn't until after he died that I realized he was 49 years old. Not many people know about that. About the curse part, that is. Not many people put it together, that they're all around the same age.
Well,
But-
Mr. Marlowe has, and that is why I'm here.
You're here to help him chase away death.
For the time being, yes. But none of us can escape.
It's a funny thing, though, right? You look around. I'm lucky enough to have lived as long as I have, but not many of us even see 50 years around here. Certainly not people like us. We're lucky to get 30 good ones. And even those, for most of us, aren't that good. I've had a lucky life.
Hmm.
I grew up as a young boy in England. I was never a slave. I was outlawed there when I was 7 years old. And came here, and the Marlowes were always good to me. But you go out there and you ask any of those people in the street, you go down to the tavern, you ask them they rather have their life the way it is now or 50 years as a Marlowe. I guarantee you every one of them would pick being a Marlowe.
Yeah, when
So
you
maybe
grow
it's
up
a
in
curse.
privilege, it is always a benefit.
Maybe it's a curse, but could be worse. There's worse curses.
There is the much worse lives too. The native peoples here, you think they have a hand in this?
He shrugs. He says, no, this curse has been around longer than that. Like I said, I was just a boy when Brian died. I don't really remember it, but that was back in England. More tea?
No. Thank you.
Dan, you're walking through town. You're walking past this enormous brick factory building. Workday has not ended. So you pass this like giant set of doors where people are carting in these large carts of just raw coal.
Okay.
Shiny black coal. And you kind of try to stay out of their way, but it's, I mean, there's got to be 50 people just in your line of sight, bringing coal in, doing something inside. You're not really sure. Just working and moving around constantly. And, you make your way kind of towards the building, just curious about what's going on inside. And inside the building, they have these enormous steel barrels that are probably about 15 feet tall, maybe just as wide. And they're like a polished steel to the point where they're reflective.
How close am I to them?
You're standing at like the threshold of this building.
I kind of just stand kind of stuck in place for a moment.
Okay. You're kind of like in your own head for a moment, and someone comes over and kind of waves their hand in front of your face. This younger guy. He says, "Can I help you, sir?"
Silas jumps when he speaks to him, and he turns kind of quickly away from his reflection in the steel barrel.
Vampire.
Yes. Excuse me. Yes. I work for the Boston Journal, and I'm here as a guest of Mr. Marlowe, and I'm just doing a piece on the town of Black Valley, and I'm curious of your industrial pursuits here. Could you perhaps point me in the direction of someone I could speak to in terms of the industry here and the manufacturing and the processes?
He looks so lost by that whole thing. You don't need to make any sort of bluff roll. He's just a young, dumb laborer, probably 16 years old. And he kind of processes all of the words you said.
A manager's office, perhaps.
Let me get the foreman.
Fair enough.
He goes inside.
I take a few steps out, and I stand kind of outboard of the opening to the plant.
Okay. This is funny. Didn't anticipate this, but okay. Now I need a fucking name. Okay. I got a name. A couple minutes go by, and this coal-covered guy comes out, kind of wipes his face and the sweat off of his face. He says, you're some sort of reporter?
Yes, with the Boston Journal.
John Basker. I'm not the foreman, but he didn't show up today, so what can I do for you?
Really, I mean, a tour of the facility would be excellent, but if now's not a good time, I can come back later. But really just a sense of the scale of your operations here. And we, up in the north, we don't really have much in the way of coal manufacturing. And I thought a piece kind of delving into the life of the coal miners here and the operations here. I am a guest of Mr. Marlowe. Would be interesting to the people up north.
It's dirty and hot. Come on in.
I follow him in.
Okay. He says, he kind of brings you through this building and past these enormous barrels, and you're kind of relieved because it's dark in here. There's soot in the air, and you can feel the heat coming off of these things. And you see that there's like a fire below them. And as he's walking through, he says, it's coke. It's
What?
it's coal. It's burned down and into coke. It's burns better, smokeless. A lot of city folk and bigger smelters are using it now in home ovens and larger manufacturing.
Silas kind of nods along.
Yeah, he kind of explains to you the process of turning coal into coke fuel, which I did watch a 45-minute video on.
Nice.
See, I got to put this stuff to use, Jay.
Yeah.
What's your stamina, Dan?
Oh,
Yeah, you got black lung now.
glorious. I got the black lung pop.
He brings you through this, the main room where it's sorted, where the coal is sorted. There's people in front of these conveyors that are pushing rock through, and they're separating all of the pieces of rock from the coal. And anything that's too small kind of just falls through into these trays underneath and is carried away. But they're really, these people are sitting there pulling off rock, and then someone at the end of the line is putting it into these enormous furnaces, and they're burning it down into coke fuel.
Is it a particularly dangerous occupation?
He says, well, those see those barrels? They're 1,000 degrees.
I see. He kind of gets distressed over the barrels again, and then he turns away from him and he says,
Says, you see, you got to heat it without any oxygen getting in. And if oxygen gets in there right now, well, we'd all be dead.
has this sort of thing ever happened before?
He says, it happens if people aren't doing their job right or equipment isn't maintained.
And I was about to say the floods, but that was someone else's. Silas asks, and the mines, have you ever dug for anything other than coal, or is it strictly?
He says, no, no gold around here. Sorry.
Well, this has been most informative. I appreciate your time, and thank you for showing me the facility.
Yeah. You head out, and
I'm going to make two other stops, and whether you want to do this kind of in-game or not.
we're gonna pause you there.
Sure. The other two stops he wants to do is maybe the graveyard
Okay.
and the town hall.
Dan, can you give me a roll of wits and insight?
Two successes.
Okay. Put that in my back pocket for now.
Is that 3 ones?
Yeah.
Oh, brutal. Good thing they don't take
know,
away
right?
anymore.
-1.
We're gonna jump back to the house.
Where Josh and John are being drained of all of their blood.
By Vampire Butler.
Josh, you basically, Kingsley wanted him to make an assertion about one of the rifles that was not correct.
Like
Technically, or?
yeah, just in the course of conversation, bring up something about the rifle or the lock that is technically incorrect.
Okay.
And see if he corrects it.
By the way, I looked up newspapers to work for in the 1870s, and there was one out of Worcester called the Massachusetts Spy, but I thought that was a little too on the nose.
Missed opportunity.
Oh shit.
I did see the New Bedford Mercury as well.
Oh.
So Octavius is there. Like I think I said Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's standing at the door. And he says, "Gentlemen, can I help you with something?"
Yes. Thank you. Pardon the interruption, Octavius, but we find going to be pushing into the later evening hours, and if you were perhaps able to have a supper brought down to us here, enable us to kind of keep on the track. And is that a problem?
None at all.
Good, excellent. And actually, if you don't mind, I had a couple questions. I thought perhaps just with your familiarity with the family, you may be able to offer some assistance as we dig into just a little bit of a project working on here. Did we get the impression that Marlowe told Octavius about
No.
his suspicions of this
you don't
curse?
think so.
Okay.
He said very few people know. He said his wife knows, but he didn't mention anyone else by name.
Okay.
Josh, you don't know how long Octavius has worked for the family, but it's a long time. You've seen him. You mainly were in Baltimore. And you know that for a very long time, he was the head butler of the Baltimore house. So you know Octavius pretty well. Just, I mean, you don't know him, but you've known him for a very long time.
I recognize that guy. He's been making me sandwiches for fucking 25 years.
He has. Yes, exactly.
Chop sandwiches.
I say, and actually, I guess I kind of pause then and redirect from the fucking shit that's spread all over the table and look towards the gun case.
Noah says, yes, Kingsley, as you look here, this lock, it is a 4-pin lock. It seems like it is complex, but it is pretty easy to pick if you are skilled enough, yeah?
Yeah, that was my suspicion. We do believe someone has gained access to Mr. Marlowe's firearms case over here, and it seems to be a relatively simple lock.
He kind of gives lifts an eyebrow, like a kind of questioning look. One thing that you guys know is that he probably has a lot to do with the finances of the house. He is the head of the staff, so he would know things about this. And he says, for the price that was paid for those locks, they should not be simple to pick. We were assured that they were the best money could buy.
Well, it's unfortunate, but as technology progresses, so does the skills of the thieves, yeah? For this one, it doesn't use the safety pins that one would expect on a lock this expensive. Perhaps, they were overpriced, yeah?
Oh, perhaps it's more a matter of perhaps the security of the key. Beyond that, Octavius, are you aware of any of the help, perhaps any shorter timers, anyone that might have had access to this room, or perhaps the key to any of these goods, any visitors, any situation in which this would have been left unlocked or allow someone to access it? Or
Mr. Marlowe is quite careful about keeping this cabinet locked. He's very accurate with his ledgers. If a weapon is taken, it is recorded, and he does not leave it unlocked. As for access to that, the only other person with a key is me, and these keys never leave my side. There is no one else who would have a key to that cabinet.
How long ago was this cabinet installed in the locks themselves?
If you give me a moment, I can get you an exact date. I can find the paperwork, but he thinks about it. This was shortly after Mr. Marlowe returned from the war, 4.5 years ago.
And perhaps, and again, I apologize if this is just going through the boring motions, but if you could just demonstrate the process of accessing it and utilizing the ledger, just so that we know
very well
what is expected.
He goes over to the cabinet and he takes a ring of keys out of his breast pocket, and they're on like a pocket watch chain. And he unlocks the cabinet, and he takes the ledger out of a drawer in the bottom, and he says, if I were instructed to remove a firearm from here, which I am hardly ever instructed to do, I would record which weapon it was and who was in possession of it. He shows you. He says, when the weapon was returned, that would also be noted in the ledger.
And you see nothing unusual here in the ledger and the cabinet? No unusual entries?
I'm going to make a roll for him.
Yeah, so basically, Kingsley is both like, if Octavius is a good actor, maybe he'll give us some insight and information, but also he's trying to ascertain, he's observing Octavius and seeing...
Is he a good actor? He's Michael Caine. Come on.
Sir Michael Caine. I don't know. Actually, no.
Michael Caine and Anthony Hopkins going fucking toe to toe.
Oh man, how did we afford
Big
this?
drama scene. Must be Oscar bait.
Why don't you both give me insight rolls? I don't know what attribute do we think goes best with this. Would it maybe be manipulation if you're trying to figure out if someone else is being manipulative?
Yeah, I think it would be because they're trying to kind of catch him in a possible lie or.
Yeah. What do you guys think? I'm kind of trying to figure out like for just using this system. We're all new to it.
I guess it depends sort of how you go above. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Could be manipulation.
I think I definitely need to roll manipulation because I lied about the lock and all that.
Sure. Because it's like an entire, it's not just reading them. It's how you react to it. It's what you say to them. So it's a whole.
Although Kingsley might not be manipulation. He might be more.
Maybe charisma instead.
I would say, and beyond just metagame, because those are better stats, but Kingsley is very charismatic, but he's not very manipulative.
Okay.
He tries to put people in situations where he can, interact with them and then read them.
So why don't you do,
so either wits or charisma.
why don't you do charisma? And John, why don't you do manipulation?
Yeah, my manipulation's 1. It's just I think that makes more sense to me.
Burke's trying to figure out, like, politically, if he's like a pro gun or.
Yeah, is he a pro gun guy?
Yeah. So it's a politics roll.
He's like,
it's a politics
this
roll.
is outrageous. There are gun locks at all times. I mean, the children must be kept how to handle a weapon.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to get you your politics roll, Josh.
I'm
That's all I'm trying to do.
Derringers don't kill people. The coloreds kill people.
I know.
The Irish kill people. Can we all agree?
There we go. 3.
Three. Okay.
That is 5 successes.
Wow. That is
Kingsley.
impossible.
It's the double zeros
That's
that
impossible.
are the fucking...
Yeah. That's a high
Is that
roll.
what it's called?
It's called impossible.
John, your deception. I mean, your story is rock solid. He doesn't seem to question it. Josh, you get the impression that as this conversation has gone on, Octavius has realized that he may be under a bit of scrutiny, and his attitude has not changed because of that. This guy is cool and collected. He is also like, he is so fucking professional.
like he's not even gonna let on that he might be annoyed or
right. I mean, with a 5, you get the idea that he might be a little bit offended that he would be questioned because of his long history of
sure,
but he wouldn't. But it's so subtle that he's really not letting on that he would be annoyed. He handles himself very well. And he's not, I mean, his hand doesn't shake when he opens the ledger, and he's very kind of in control, and you think he's telling the truth.
He doesn't say anything about the missing Derringer.
He does, actually.
Okay.
So he looks through the ledger, and he says all of these seem to be in order. He says, well, I see here that Mr. Marlowe took a Colt revolver just recently, I assume, when he left the home.
Is it signed out in the ledger?
He did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like missing and not indicated.
No.
There's also a Derringer.
No, I know, but I'm saying he says like when he left the house, he grabbed a pistol.
Yeah, that is correct. He grabbed the pistol before leaving.
What about
there's did he also take a Remington 95 Derringer pistol?
I did not see that. I did see him right in the ledger when he took the...
He opens one of the drawers at the bottom of the cabinet, and he says, it should be sitting right here. It's a small gun. He kind of holds up his index finger and thumb to show how small it is.
Yeah.
He says, with an ivory handle.
We did not notice that, or I did not at least. He did not take that when he left. I would assume he would have written it in the ledger, yeah?
Yes, that is unusual. Perhaps the rifles were not the only things to have. Well, Octavius, I want to thank you. You've been quite enlightening here, and you've shown a straight path, and now we may look for the deviations in this area that may be cause for suspicion.
I will say that it is common for Mr. Marlowe's wife to take this weapon with her when she goes to Baltimore. But
Nothing's changed. Sorry.
still packing when you go to Baltimore these days. He says, however, she is quite diligent about signing out these weapons.
Yes, and Mrs. Marlowe is still here on the property.
Mrs. Marlowe is on the property, yes.
If we certainly do not want to trouble her, I'm sure we'll see her at some time. But if you do not feel it's intrusive, next time you come by her, would you mind just asking if she may have on any chance forgotten to sign this out? Maybe you can mention that lay the blame at a friend of Marlowe's who is here and desperate to explore this inventory a bit more.
Yes, absolutely. If you'd like, I could introduce you to her. I believe he is interrupted mid-sentence by ringing bells from town. He turns and he says, "That is the fire brigade alarm."
Ugh.
Meanwhile,
Did I just die?
Dan, you walk out of
New
the
character.
building and you start walking down the street and you think to yourself, did I see someone who looked a bit suspicious? And that is the last thing you think before there's an explosion behind you.
Holy shit.
It throws you to the ground. You actually get hit in the back by a brick.
I'm dead. That's it. That's all I got.
I guess you're going to the graveyard.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah. Good callback.
Make a soak roll for me.
Okay.
Oh my God.
What is it? Stamina and
Stamina and stamina. Just stamina. You're a lowly human.
let's see how this brick does. Shillelagh. 6.
Nice.
Yeah.
You take one level of non-lethal damage. So the way damage works, non-lethal is like getting punched, stuff like that.
So non-aggravated. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
So just put like a dash, basically. It heals relatively fast. It's like getting punched. And then aggravated or, lethal damage in the case of a mortal is gunshots, swords, shit like that. So if you take lethal, you cross it off with an X. If all of your boxes are non-lethal, then you start to take lethal. Yeah. This matters more if you're a vampire because vampires, literally bullets are non-lethal to them. So, but it knocks you to the ground as your world is rocked. Your ears are buzzing. Ryan, you, Marlowe, and Frederick, right? Was that his name?
It's
Sorry, I got a lot of fucking notes here.
Mr. Martins.
Martins. Yep.
How did you just forget
Portuguese.
Mr. Martin's
I know, right? Weird.
Dear Lord.
That's not my name, Frederick Martins. Because I literally searched most common Portuguese last names, 1800s. The three of you hear a muffled rumble. And then a few moments later, you hear alarms that are bells being rung from the church and another building. And Frederick stands up and he says, "That is a fire brigade alarm. I must go." And Marlowe says, "That was an explosion." Like he kind of realizes what that muffled sound was. And he gets up and he runs for the door. You follow him, I assume?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
He bursts through the door. And as the two of you get onto the street, you see fire coming out of that factory building, coming off of the roof. And you both start running that direction. Frederick does not go that way. He goes a different way. You assume to the fire, wagon.
Cart.
Yeah, exactly. But the two of you start running down the street. You hear bells ringing. You see smoke pouring off of the roof of that building. Matt, you hear this as well. It's a little bit louder where you are. The factory is not that far away, and you hear the bells as well. And old man Tandon says, I think you might want to go check that out. I believe Mr. Marlowe's birthday is coming up.
It is. Before I go, do you know why his family left England?
He says, King George didn't like Adam Marlowe. Adam was a war hero and quite well loved. They had a bit of a rivalry. While he was away in France, he saw an opportunity to take over his lands, and he took it. There were court cases and tried to get it back, and well, in the end, I believe the papers called it the Second American Revolution. That was when Adam Marlowe took all of us and came here.
Well, I hope you come to Mr. Marlowe's birthday party, but I must go.
He nods to you, and you go. What are you guys doing at the house?
Not getting fucking blown up. What's up?
Do we hear like the explosion?
You don't.
No, just the bells.
Yeah.
Noah locks puts all the stuff in the gun case that was out and locks it up, puts the key in his pocket, and steps out front of the building.
Okay.
To look what's going on.
You see smoke coming from town. You go like kind of over the tree line. You can see smoke.
Yeah.
Like black, like thick smoke.
Kingsley follows him out there, and
Seems like a very big fire.
as much as I can intellectually pore over those papers and search around that room and say, here I see no sign of conspiracy, I cannot deny the terror in my heart as I look out at that smoke and think of our friends that are there and fear that there may be yet another connection, another black coincidence.
Les, you and Marlowe
I don't mean
run past a body in the street with some bricks on top of it, and to the blown open side of this building. You can feel the heat of the fire. It's insanely hot, like a heat of a fire that you've never felt before. And there's a lot of people making their way out of the building, covered in soot. You can't even all you see is eyes basically. And one of them comes over to Marlowe and says, one of the blast furnaces. And Marlowe shakes his head and he says, the sorting line, there's some people back there. And Marlowe looks at you and he gives you this look of like, I know I shouldn't do this. And then he runs into the building. Dan, you are the body in the street.
Yeah, I got that. Thanks for clarifying. Really spelling it out. Appreciate that.
You look up, you roll over out of these hot bricks, and you look up just in time to see his back as he runs into the building.
And I'm right after him.
I start clearing the kind of bricks off of me, and I wipe some blood that's kind of above my eye from one of the bricks hitting me. And I start trying to climb back up and out of this kind of pile and just make sure that I'm whole. Mm-hmm. I'm sure my ears are ringing. And I take a quick look around. Right now there's people primarily running out of the building.
Yes, a lot of people running out of the building.
I kind of take a deep breath and kind of look around vainly for help. Obviously it's not there yet. Mm-hmm. and then I run in after Les and Marlowe.
You guys are the forward fucking team.
Meanwhile, we're out there. You think we should go help?
Sitting out in the garden sipping tea.
I dare say we never make it. Of course I would.
We got the thoughts and prayers speech over here from Kingsley. Yeah.
I do. It does trouble me.
A true politician.
My heart goes out to all those bereaved. And of course, we'll be sending our support.
I'm actually going to change the color of my portrait here in my home to indicate how dear.
I only had to click a simple button. It wasn't much of a trouble at all, really.
Now is not the time to talk about gun legislation or safes. Or safes for that matter.
Obscene to even.
These blast furnaces, they're just time bombs awaiting.
OSHA is a waste of money.
Chinese manufacturer.
Guys, I don't think we can release this arc.
Okay.
So, Silas and Les on the front lines run through the rubble of the side of this building and immediately into thick
I
coal smoke.
take my jacket and like shield my face from the heat that's coming from the fire. Like anything to put like some sort of barrier from the heat that's probably radiating from the furnace fire.
I'm gonna pull up my bandana because I'm a cowboy. So
Always
cover-
ready.
Yeah.
Always ready with the
Now-
cowboy.
now
You're
like
never
an
gonna catch
outlaw.
that first fire, bro.
You guys make your way into this thick smoke. Dan, you break through into the larger room that you had just gone through, and luckily because of the super high ceilings and just the immensity of this particular room, the sorting room, there's a little bit of visibility, and you can see those enormous steel drums, and you see one of them literally glowing hot, the side of it torn open. And because of the light being thrown off of it, you can see the other ones like shining and kind of reflecting that light. And you see some people in that direction. I'm going to invoke your phobia.
Yep.
Do you want to share or
Yeah.
share
So
through role playing or however you want to do it?
Silas is he catches his reflection again, and he thinks back to that night in the tent where he had to kill someone in order to, under Marlowe's orders. And here he is again following Marlowe, and in this situation where there's death all around him, and he begins to panic that whatever kind of malignant force he felt in that room that night when he was staring into the mirror in that tent after he had just cut that man's throat, that terror is also here, that it is somehow following Marlowe and following him. So he's going to kind of freeze in place, kind of staring at this warped version of himself.
Nice.
That's where I'll stay.
Okay.
Is
So
your
you're
phobia
gonna
of murder?
mirrors.
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 Okay.
Nice.
All right. I like it. You kind of freeze looking at that. Les, he was behind you anyway. You
Hero stuff, no big deal.
Ryan, I don't think Les even realized he was there.
100% a vampire, right? 100% a vampire.
I have a reflection. Yeah, just a wannabe.
He becomes a vampire to get rid of his reflection.
Yes, love it.
That was your plan all along.
Character writes itself, guys.
Like I said, Ryan, Les probably didn't even realize that that Silas was there. You break through into that room as well. There's a little bit of visibility. You see the glow of that large steel drum, and you see a few figures through the haze of the smoke closer to it. And as you take a few more steps towards it, it is insanely hot. It's like you are in an oven. Give me a roll of stamina and... Sorry, I'm new to this system. Huh. Might just be stamina.
I think
No,
he's gonna be
stamina and
happy.
resolve.
All right.
You couldn't have picked something happier.
That's going to be difficulty 4.
All right. Well, I'm gonna use a will point then.
Wait, how many dice did you just roll?
7.
No.
I got 5.
You got 5. Okay. You make your way towards this intense heat,
You got that pony strength.
and you see the silhouette of Monroe helping someone. Marlowe. Fuck.
Oh.
You see the silhouette of Marlowe helping someone up off of the floor. And he picks them up and he kind of puts one of their arms over his shoulder. And as he does that, the person on the floor turns and you see that they're wearing some sort of face mask. And the arm that is over Marlowe's shoulder, they put him in a headlock. And then one of the other people on the floor grabs him as well and pulls him down. And we will end there.
We're good. Yeah, things are fine at the house.
Split the party.
We had to...
Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the Nastagram RPG podcast. A few quick thanks for our badass intro music, A Wilhelm Scream. They have an awesome new album, Lose Your Delusion. Go check it out. For our outro music, Adrian Von Ziegler. All scores are by Adrian Von Ziegler and Antti Martikainen. No Dean on this arc, but if you want to listen to him, check out the great shows over at Liberty Street Geek, The Lost Drive-In, Kirking Off for your Star Trek love, and Mind Killer for some Dune talk. Lastly, guys, this is our 4th arc, and we are loving it. We have a lot more planned. To do that, we need you. You hear it all the time, but it's true. Podcasts won't exist without listeners, and we need your support and involvement. Ratings, reviews do make a huge difference, and so does telling people about the show. People that like role-playing game, people that like storytelling, anybody think that might dig this. So spread the word, spread the love. We got a lot more coming. See you next week.